Oh, I forgot to adjust the settings.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Gen Z in the 80s, a show where I pick apart things that aren't really nostalgic to me. Lately on this show, I've been doing movies that I legitimately like. I did Can't Buy Me Love, Monster Squad, and The Lost Boys, which is my all-time favorite. And while I love talking about things I legitimately like, I really miss picking apart the things that I hate. So I have picked a movie that's not only bad, but it fits in with what's popular right now. Unless you live under a rock, you have seen the show Cobra Kai. Netflix buying the rights from YouTube was the best financial decision they ever made. Now that Cobra Kai is like one of the most popular shows in the world right now, it has elevated the Karate Kid movies to an all-new popularity. Now I am hopping on this bandwagon and I am reviewing 1989's The Karate Kid, Part 3. The first Karate Kid is an absolute classic, and even the two people that haven't seen it know about the crane kick, sweeping the leg, and wax on, wax off. This movie is freaking awesome. Then it had a great but underrated sequel. The Karate Kid Part 2 not only expanded the universe by taking the story to Okinawa, but it also kept the same heart as the first one. It did everything a good sequel is supposed to do, by taking beloved characters from the first one and continuing their story. What did Part 3 do? It went backwards. Trust me, there is a lot happening in this movie. But like, nothing happening in this movie? Another reason why I'm reviewing this movie is I like to bring up the fact that in 2015, I saw Ralph Macchio in the flesh. And to this day, I regret not approaching him. So back in 2015, my dad and I went to a convention in Columbus with my church. And guess who was there? That's right. The thing is, first of all, I was really scared to meet him because I was like, holy crap, that's the Karate Kid. Second, it was kind of expensive to meet him, and my dad and I didn't realize at the time that Ralph Macchio is like, usually he'll just call people up and for free because he's just that much of a nice guy. I kid you not, my dad and I walked past his booth probably like 7 times. I think he noticed too. And the thing that bothers me the most about this is I was in 8th grade at the time. And what do 8th graders all around America do every single year? That's right, they read The Outsiders. And who was in The Outsiders movie? That's right, Tom Cruise. Oh, and Ralph Macchio. I could have gone back to school and said, I met Johnny Cade. I could have had the biggest flex of all of 8th grade. Granted, I still told my entire class that I saw him, so that's like a flex within itself. It just wasn't the same. Ralph, if you're watching this video, I want a do-over, and I'm sorry that my dad and I probably creeped you out. Anyway, I have rambled about Ralph Macchio long enough, so let's get on with the movie. The movie first opens up with a very long flashback of the previous 2 movies. I usually don't mind flashbacks, but this is 5 minutes long. Just get to the movie already. Or don't, because I'd much rather be watching these. So we learned that because of the bad reputation Cobra Kai got after the tournament, the dojo was banned from the tournament and Cobra Kai lost all of its students. Down on his luck, Kreese goes to his friend who was with him in Vietnam, because these actors are definitely the same age, and he's the true owner of Cobra Kai? Kreese wasn't the owner all along? Wow, those writers certainly had that planned for years. Anyway, this friend is Terry Silver, aka the best thing about this movie. This dude is comedically scummy and evil. He is the representation of a shady businessman. He even looks the part with his slick back ponytail. All he really needs now is a oh my god. Throughout the movie, I couldn't tell if he was supposed to be over the top or if we were like actually supposed to take this dude seriously. And I kid you not, this actor is treating this role like it is the pinnacle of his career. He is doing great. So Terry decides to send Kreese on a trip to Tahiti so he can plot revenge on an 18-year-old that he's literally never met. He's not just plotting revenge. He wants them to suffer. And we know this because Terry literally says this.
They made you suffer, so I'm gonna make them suffer, and suffer, and suffer, and when I think they've suffered enough, Then I start with the pain.
I do have to admit, I think we all need a friend like Terry Silver. This dude is not only getting revenge on his friend's enemies, but he is sending them on a free vacation. Anyway, at this point, you're probably wondering where the Karate Kid is. I mean, it's not like it's the title of the movie or anything. After almost 10 minutes, we see him and Mr. Miyagi get off the plane from Okinawa. So this movie takes place directly after the second one. Daniel sure aged in a short amount of time. Even though he clearly aged from the last movie, I still think it's impressive that Ralph Macchio was like 27 years old and he could still pass as a college student. So Daniel and Miyagi get back to the apartment and they see that it's being torn apart. They call Daniel's mom and it turns out she had to move in with Uncle Louie because he's sick. So Miyagi lets Daniel move in with him. You would have thought she would have let Daniel know this beforehand. But Avery, this is the 80s. There's long distance phone calls. I get it. Making long distance phone calls used to be very expensive. But this movie implies that her and Daniel talked on the phone when he was there.
And when is Kamiko arriving?
So she never mentioned, oh, by the way, our apartment is being torn down. You're gonna be homeless when you come back. Sorry. Mother of the freaking year right here. Then we get a throwaway line of what happened to Daniel's love interest from the last movie.
She's not. She, got this great job with a dance company in Tokyo, and I guess she just couldn't say no, so...
Daniel then asks Mr. Miyagi if he ever considered opening a bonsai tree shop, and Mr. Miyagi tells Daniel that he can only dream, and this gives Daniel an idea. He's gonna use his college money to open up a bonsai tree shop for Mr. Miyagi, even though Mr. Miyagi told him no many, many times. Meanwhile, we get back to Terry Silver and his diabolical plan. Terry is all like, Kreese, I just bought you 20 more Cobra Kai dojos. Mwahahaha. How stupid is that? They can't even keep one dojo open, let alone 20. How has Terry Silver managed to stay this rich for so long if he keeps blowing his money on stupid stuff like this? Then Terry Silver also tells Kreese that he is spending 100% of his time on Daniel and Miyagi. No businessman in their right mind would throw all their work away. You know what? I've rest my case. I've said enough. So Terry Silver's plan consists of, bear with me here. Terry needs to get Daniel to re-enter the tournament. Terry is going to play double agent. So on Daniel's side, Terry is going to gain Daniel's trust and convince him to let him be his sensei. But behind Daniel's back, Terry hired some karate dude from this magazine who's supposed to be really good, and he's going to get him and Daniel to fight in the karate tournament and humiliate Daniel. It is a really complex yet stupid plan that relies purely on luck. Terry tells Kreese not to worry about anything and he is going to spend his full time on this. I'm gonna say it again. Terry has never met Miyagi and Daniel. So while researching this movie, I actually figured out why Terry is the one carrying this entire plan out instead of Kreese, and it actually makes sense. So Kreese was supposed to have like a bigger role in this movie, but his actor had scheduling conflicts, so they wrote Terry as a result. So that just proves that Terry Silver is a blessing and a curse to this movie. Daniel then comes home to greet Miyagi. Miyagi thinks that Daniel went to college, but Daniel reveals that he didn't, and he spent his tuition money on a lease for Miyagi's new bonsai tree shop. Daniel, I know you meant well, but you are a moron. There are so many things wrong with this. Miyagi doesn't have much money, and now Daniel has given him a financial burden. What about paying for the utilities? What about paying for the renovations on this crappy building? Will Miyagi actually make a profit from this? Because I don't see anybody in the area rushing to buy bonsai trees. And I feel like I have to put a statement before I say this next statement. I don't believe you have to go to college to be successful. I think it's frustrating that high schools push college so hard because there's the workforce, the military, and trade schools. Now, I'm also not here to bash colleges because I'm literally sitting in a college dorm room. Basically, what I'm saying is college isn't the only path, and that's okay. Anyway, it is clear that Daniel's heart is not into college, which is fine. However, Miyagi was very clear that Daniel puts his money towards his college tuition. Miyagi didn't want Daniel blowing his money on him because Miyagi is a very selfless person. And now that money that was meant for Daniel is, like I said earlier, it's going towards a financial burden. When Miyagi tells you no, he means it. Listen to Miyagi. We're only 20 minutes through this movie, and I feel like I have covered so much. And I haven't even covered it all yet. So Miyagi finally agrees to run the shop and he makes Daniel his partner. In the next scene, we get a business meeting with Terry Silver from his bathtub. In case you didn't know that he is a scummy businessman, he's having meetings from his bathtub. First, Terry is all like, alright, you know that nuclear waste? Just dump it. In case you didn't know that he is a scummy business, Terry gives his assistant a bunch of random business mumbo jumbo, and like, does this movie expect us to care? That's when Mike Burns comes in, the karate dude that Terry found in the magazine. So Terry is having Mike live with him. I'm assuming this kid's a minor, so I'm gonna ask, where are his parents? Are they really okay with this? And who let these putzes come with him? Are they living with him too? Oh yeah, Mike only agrees to help Terry if Terry grants him 50% of Cobra Kai's assets. And Terry grants him this. How is Terry so rich? To be rich, you have to stay rich. And to stay rich, you don't give a teenager that much control. We then see Daniel and Miyagi digging up bonsai trees to sell, and Miyagi tells Daniel about this rare wild bonsai tree that's worth a lot of money. It totally won't come back up later. Then Daniel and Miyagi randomly decide to do karate on this cliff because they needed shots for the trailer. I will admit though, this is a gorgeous shot. Useless and out of nowhere? Yes. But do I like it? Yes. While working on the shop, Daniel tells Miyagi that he got a letter, and this letter explains that the All Valley Tournament has now made a new rule where whoever was the winner the previous year automatically moves up to the finals. How convenient. And Daniel wants to sign up, but Miyagi is like, no. And he tells Daniel to go across the street and find a pot for the bonsai. And then we meet Robin Lively? The love interest is Teen Witch? By the way, I did a review on that movie as well. She plays... what's her name again? Jessica. She has no effect on this movie whatsoever. You could completely write this character out of this movie and nothing would change at all. And the best part is, spoiler alert, she disappears halfway through this movie. She isn't even mentioned in Cobra Kai. Her and Daniel then plan a date for that night. Daniel meets Miyagi back at the tree shop and they get into an argument because Miyagi didn't sign the letter. Daniel is all like, but Mr. Miyagi, I want to defend my title. And Miyagi is all like, no. In the next scene, we see Daniel humming while getting ready for his date that night. The first time I watched this, I was literally so confused because I had no idea where that noise was coming from. And then I realized, oh my god, that's supposed to be Daniel. What I'm saying is, they clearly added this in post and it sucks. And Daniel does this weird dance and it's like, really weird. But then Terry Silver sneaks into the house for unexplained reasons. I guess to get like dirt on Miyagi or something, I don't know. Also, how does he even know his address? But then Miyagi comes back home, so Terry has to hide. Daniel tells Miyagi that he has decided he doesn't want to do the tournament anymore. Did I skip a scene? Did I zone out and miss something? What made Daniel change his mind? In the scene literally before this one, Daniel was adamant about wanting to defend his title. So why is he all of a sudden like, you know what, Miyagi, I thought about what you said and I decided not to do the tournament anymore. I mean, I think it's great I listened to Miyagi for once, but like, he didn't even ponder over this. So Daniel burns the letter and throws it in the fireplace, and this reveals that... Sorry. Terry was hiding in the fireplace and overheard the whole thing. At this point, I'm too exhausted to even ask. Daniel goes and picks up Jessica for their date, but Jessica tells him right off the bat that she's moving back up to Columbus soon, and her and her ex-boyfriend got back together. Not sure why she didn't tell Daniel this earlier, unless all this happened in a 4-hour time period. Whatever. At least she let him down early. And I will give this movie credit. Her and Daniel's relationship in this movie is strictly platonic, which is refreshing, honestly. And you know it's refreshing because the movie literally tells you that.
I mean, I did come on kind of strong.
No, don't worry about it. It's refreshing. I mean, we could go Dutch.
However, I can't give this movie too much credit for that because Jessica was originally written as Daniel's love interest. But when they cast Robin Lively, it pretty much went like this. I'm married. I'm 27. Why are you still casting me as the teen? I'm literally 16 years old. Honestly, I have more respect for these writers than the ones from Teen Witch. Daniel brings Jessica over to the tree shop and he starts teaching her karate moves, and it's super awkward. I don't think the director was present during this scene because both Ralph Macchio and Robin Lively look extremely confused on what to do. All of a sudden, the one karate dude and his backup show up. They're all like, "Join the karate tournament," and Daniel is all like, "No." And Jessica is all like, "You slime ball." And they leave. Don't worry, they'll be back. Many times. Daniel and Miyagi practice karate when Terry Silver shows up. Terry Silver pretends that he is from a karate dojo in Korea, and he tells Miyagi and Daniel that Kreese was so heartbroken by Cobra Kai losing, he had a heart attack and died. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that earlier. Kreese faking his own death was a part of Terry's master revenge plot. That night, Jessica shows back up in the tree shop in an outfit that I totally wouldn't wear now. And her and Daniel, I kid you not, talk about macaroni and cheese.
Now I want you to try this, okay? Be honest.
Okay.
And their moment is interrupted by the karate dude and the other dudes again. This time they start wrecking the place.
Hey, come on, guys, this is getting out of hand now, don't you?
Wrecking private property. I mean, I guess you can say it's getting out of hand. I mean, after Daniel fought Chosen in Okinawa, I'm pretty sure you can take these guys on easily. Right? 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 Oh no. Daniel gets it handed to him, and Miyagi literally has to save him. So you're telling me that Daniel was able to beat Chosen, who had been training his entire life in Okinawa, who was the student at the top of his class, who was literally setting out to kill Daniel, who almost killed Daniel's girlfriend at the time, who doesn't have a stupid haircut, and yet Daniel can't beat this punk from a magazine with a stupid haircut? I'm gonna say it. Daniel is the biggest problem about this movie. When you look at all three of these movies, he has gone backwards. Daniel was saved by Miyagi in the first one because guess what? Daniel didn't know how to fight yet. But Daniel being saved in this movie, not once, but twice, yes, twice, we'll get to that later, makes no sense because at this point, he shouldn't even need to be saved. Also, Daniel's personality in this movie is beyond annoying. He is either happy-go-lucky or he is just an absolute freaking jerk, and there is no in between. Ralph Macchio was actually nominated for Worst Actor at the Razzie Awards for this movie, and honestly, I don't really know how I feel about that. Because yes, his performance in this movie is not the best, but actors do have to rely on their directors. I don't want to put the fault completely onto Ralph Macchio because maybe this was a directing choice, or maybe this was how Daniel's character was written for this movie. Or maybe they had a different interpretation for Daniel. Maybe it was a different director or a different writer, or hang on. It was the same writer and director as the last two movies. So what happened? Not with just Daniel, but with everything. Oh yeah, next scene we have Daniel yelling at Miyagi because Miyagi started singing. Because like I said before, Daniel is either 100 or the other side of 100. Remember that valuable and rare bonsai tree that was mentioned earlier? The one that Miyagi insisted should stay in the wild? Well, Daniel's deciding to big fat dig it up. It also turns out that Jessica actually does have something to do in this movie. She knows how to mountain climb. How convenient. Jessica slips, and oh no! Daniel has to drop the tree to save her. So now they have to go to the bottom and retrieve it. But uh-oh, the karate dudes show up. How did they even find them? So the karate dudes took the ropes and will only let them back up if Daniel signs the application. So Daniel finally signs it. The karate dudes pull them back up, but they snap the tree. Daniel brings the tree to Miyagi, and he is understandably crushed. He also reveals that he had to sell the truck to pay for more bonsai trees. You know what, Daniel? If you never bought the shop in the first place! Jessica and Daniel start training for the karate tournament, and that's when Terry pulls up in his car and strikes a conversation. He tells Daniel that he needs to learn how to front sweep. In the next scene, the Karate Magazine dude randomly attacks Daniel at his house, and Daniel yet again gets it handed to him. But luckily, Terry Silver's there to save him. Terry Silver tells Daniel that he is reopening Cobra Kai and that he is more than welcome to train with him. Daniel goes up to Miyagi and begs him to teach him how to front sweep.
All you have to give me is this one thing. That's it. That's it. Please. Please, please, please. You gotta do it. Be a pal.
You know, I'm starting to think he deserved that Razzie nomination. But Miyagi grabs a broom. And this causes Daniel to lash out again. Stop being so mean, Daniel. Daniel then goes to the Cobra Kai dojo where I guess Terry Silver was just waiting for him to randomly show up. Also, I should have pointed this out earlier, but the actor playing Terry Silver is actually younger than Ralph Macchio. One is supposed to be a Vietnam vet, and the other one is supposed to be a freshman in college. Terry Silver pushes Daniel too hard, and Daniel gets hurt, so Miyagi sticks his foot in a bath bomb. Oh yeah, by the way, Daniel's like hiding this Cobra Kai stuff, and Miyagi's clearly suspicious, whatever, moving on. Also, where was his bath bomb remedy when Daniel got the crap kicked out of him the other times? Then we get a scene of Miyagi looking at a picture of him and Daniel, and being all like, "My heart is empty without you." Because it's the tell, don't show rule, right? The next night, Daniel gets injured again and Miyagi goes to talk to him, but then Daniel, yet again, completely lashes out at him for no reason, and he makes Miyagi cry. I didn't like Daniel throughout this movie, but now I really don't like Daniel. The fact that this movie is actually making me feel something is making me angry. Pat Morita also got nominated for a Razzie for this movie, and it makes me wonder, did the nominators blink and miss this scene? So earlier in the movie, Kreese tells Terry to make Daniel's knuckles bleed, because Miyagi made his knuckles bleed in the last movie. So then Terry pushes Daniel too hard and Daniel's knuckles bleed. I actually don't mind that. You get a pass, movie. So then Jessica and Daniel go to a dance, and spoiler alert, nobody picks her up and twirls her. And Terry gets a guy to pick a fight with Daniel. The guy then starts sexually harassing Jessica. Can't you make this guy disappear too? And Daniel breaks his nose. Then Jessica is all like, "Daniel, what has gotten into you? You're so violent." This movie treats this like it's a bad thing, but like, I don't see a problem here. The guy deserved to have his nose broken. As Jessica is packing up to leave the movie, Daniel apologizes to her and realizes how violent and terrible he's gotten. This would actually be impactful if Daniel became violent earlier in the movie. Honestly, it makes me angry about how much potential this plot line had. Daniel betraying Miyagi and joining Cobra Kai would have actually been so good if it was done well. That could have been the whole movie, not tree shops and, while I still love him, a pathetic businessman with too much time on his hands. But Daniel joins Cobra Kai for the last half of the movie, isn't even in it that long, and it's not even Kreese teaching him. If he didn't have the Cobra Kai G on, I'd probably forget this was Cobra Kai in the first place. Is it G or Gi? Oh, it's Gi. Oh no. How is... Oh no. No. I think I pronounced it wrong. Gi. Oh no, it's not G. Oh no. You know what? Screw it. I'm putting this in. This is funny. Anyway, if Daniel didn't have the Cobra Kai gi on, I wouldn't even known it was Cobra Kai. I would have just forgotten. Anyway, moving on. This is embarrassing. Daniel apologizes to Miyagi. "Buddy, you need to give him more than an apology. You made the man cry." And Daniel decides to drop the tournament and quit Cobra Kai. Daniel goes to Cobra Kai to tell Terry that he is done. But then, Kreese reveals that he is alive. First, this seems hilarious. Second, was Kreese just like waiting in a corner, just waiting at the right time to jump out and scare Daniel? And yet again, Daniel gets it absolutely handed to him. And yet again, Mr. Miyagi has to save him. Miyagi finally agrees to train Daniel, and we get some more trailer shots. Daniel and Miyagi replant the tree that Daniel shouldn't have dug up in the first place. We finally get to the tournament, and honestly, I'd be more pumped up, but I just want this movie to be over. Oh, and Terry's diabolical plan is to have the Karate Magazine dude let Daniel win some points so the score would stay a tie, and this will tire Daniel out so he'll just give up. During the fight, Daniel breaks down, and he's all like, "Miyagi, I can't do this, I'm scared." Really? Really? This is the thing that scares you? this is the thing that drives you to your breaking point? Let me remind you again of how you almost died in Okinawa, how your girlfriend was almost killed in front of you. What about in the first movie when you were getting beat up every day, and when you finally had to confront your bully after just learning karate and being your first tournament? Or what about when you almost had your leg broken? You weren't pushed over the edge those other times? Shouldn't you be almost unstoppable at this point? So Daniel wins, his movie ends on a freeze frame, the end. And that was Karate Kid Part 3. And I will say, it actually rivals Return of the King and Return of the Jedi. I'm kidding, it sucks. What a bad ending to what could have been a great trilogy. This movie can't stand by itself because you need to watch the first movie to understand what's happening. But at the same time, this movie takes everything from the last two movies and throws it out the window. You can tell it wants to recapture the magic of the first two, but it can't because it's soulless and dumb and it doesn't make any sense. Some parts are pretty hilarious, but for the most time it's just frustrating. I mean, I like the score. It's too epic and beautiful for this over-glorified TV movie, but it's beautiful. I like Jessica. She wasn't in the movie all that much, and the only reference to her in Cobra Kai was stock footage from this movie, but I would like to see her come back one day. I honestly hope Cobra Kai brings back Robin Lively in the future. I also really liked how her and Daniel's relationship was platonic, even though that wasn't even the original plan in the first place. Also, I love Terry Silver. Yes, he is pathetic, but I don't care. He is fun to watch, and I love him. So how did this movie do? Well, it was actually nominated for awards. Razzie Awards. I mentioned earlier that Ralph Macchio and Pat Morita were actually nominated for Worst Actors in this movie, but this movie was also nominated for Worst Screenplay, Worst Director, and finally, Worst Picture. I only recommend this movie if you have seen the first two and you just want to finish the trilogy. But please watch the first two movies. They are both great. They are nothing like this one. And also, watch Cobra Kai. In my opinion, it is actually one of the best shows ever made. I rank this above Dream a Little Dream because I could actually comprehend what was happening in this movie, but I also rank this below Teen Witch because that movie was actually enjoyably bad. Thank you so much for watching. I've actually missed making these reviews, and now I'm settled in my dorm. I'm settled into my second semester of college, so everything is going well. I really appreciate all the kind comments and all the feedback that I get. I am so happy that people are enjoying the series so much. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate the nice comments so much. Now remember, if you are a businessman, do not put everything on hold for a revenge plot for people that you have never met. Also, don't dig up valuable bonsai trees.